Hello everyone. This is Dr. Madhushri Chatterjee and welcome to MC Biology classes. Today I am going to start this video lecture with female reproductive system. A female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries along with a pair of oviducts. Oviducts are also known as fallopian tubes, then uterus, cervix, vagina and external genitalia. Now please have a close look at this diagram and let us start with ovaries. Ovaries are the primary female sex organ that produces female gametes, that is ovum, and several steroid hormones, also known as ovarian hormones. These ovaries are located on each side of the lower abdomen. Each ovary is 2 to 4 centimeter in length and is connected to the pelvic wall. Now each ovary is covered by a thin epithelium which closes the ovarian stroma. Now stroma is divided into two zones. We always know that the outer zone is known as cortex and inner zone is known as medulla. No exception here. So what is ovarian ligament? It is the part that connects ovary to the uterus. Now let us move on to the fallopian tubes or oviducts. Oviducts has three parts. First one is infundibulum. What is that? Infundibulum is the closer part of the ovary. This is funnel shaped and the edges of the infundibulum possess finger-like projections and these are known as fimbriae. Now what is the function of fimbriae? Fimbriae helps in collection of ovum after ovulation. Now the infundibulum leads to a wider part of oviduct and this is known as ampulla. And the last part of oviduct, which is the short and the narrowest part, is isthmus. What is its role? It joins with the uterus. Now let us discuss about uterus. Uterus is single and it is also called womb. The shape of uterus is like an inverted pear. It is supported by ligaments which are attached to the pelvic wall. Now the uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. The cavity of the cervix is called cervical canal, which along with vagina forms the birth canal. Now the wall of uterus consists of three layers of tissues. First layer is known as perimetrium. It is the external layer and it is thin and membranous. Now the middle layer is thick and it is made up of smooth muscle. It is known as myometrium. It exhibits strong contraction during delivery of baby. And the innermost layer is known as endometrium. It is the inner glandular layer. It lines the uterine cavity. It is very important because it undergoes cyclical changes during menstrual cycle. Here I have mentioned a very important point which is you might be asked this about in your NEET exam, that is what is hysterectomy. Hysterectomy is the surgical removal of uterus of female. The next part is vagina. Now vaginal orifice or vaginal opening is partially covered by a membrane called hymen. Hymen is often torn during the first coitus or intercourse. However, it can also be broken by a sudden fall or jerk or insertion of vaginal tampon or active participation in some sports like horse riding, cycling, etc. Even in some women, hymen persist after coitus. So, in fact, the presence or absence of hymen is not a reliable indicator of virginity or sexual experience because this is a very common myth. So, I tried to make you understand. Now, let us start with the external genitalia. External genitalia are collectively known as vulva. It consists of, first one is mons pubis. What is that? It is a cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair. The next structure is clitoris. Now remember, clitoris is finger-like structure and it is homologous to penis in male. But clitoris differs from male penis as it is very much reduced in size and it's a solid structure. However, male penis has urethra, clitoris does not have a corpus spongiosum. There are present of urethral orifice and vaginal orifice in the midline of vulva. The third structure is labia majora. These are the two large fleshy folds of skin, and the labia majora are considered homologous to the scrotum of male. The next one is labia minora. These are two smaller folds of skin, and labia minora are homologous to penile urethra of male. Posteriorly, the labia minora are fused to form the fourchette. They also contain numerous sebaceous glands. And the area between the labia minora is called vestibule, which is homologous to membranous urethra of male. Here in this diagram, you can find the exact location and position of female reproductive system. This has been shown for your clear understanding. Moving on to the next topic, that is mammary gland. Now, mammary glands are characteristic of all female mammals. The breasts are the paired structure that contain glandular tissue and variable amount of fat. The glandular tissue of each breast consists of 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing clusters of cells which are known as alveoli. The cells of alveoli secrete milk. The mammary lobes form mammary glands. Now, mammary glands are actually modified sweat glands and they are underdeveloped until puberty. In male, they are in rudimentary form. At puberty in females, they begin to develop under the influence of two hormones, and those hormones are estrogen and progesterone. Externally, each breast has a projection, that is nipple, and it is surrounded by circular pigmented area of skin, maybe deep pink to light brown, and that pigmented area is known as areola. And on the surface of areola, there are numerous sebaceous glands which are known as areolar glands. Now, some important points for NEET have been mentioned here. First one is oviduct, that is fallopian tube, and uterus along with vagina constitute the female accessory ducts. Next one is Mullerian duct. Mullerian duct forms oviduct in adult female which disappears in case of male. Now, what is fourchette? Posteriorly, labia minora are fused together to form the fourchette. Next one is lesser vestibular gland. What is that? Numerous minute glands are present on either side of urethral orifice, which is actually homologous to male prostate, and they secrete mucus. And another one is there, that is greater vestibular gland, that is also known as Bartholin's gland. They are paired glands present on each side of vaginal orifice. And remember, Bartholin gland is homologous to male bulbourethral glands, okay, which is also known as Cowper's gland. It secretes viscous fluid for supplementing lubrication during sexual intercourse. Now, areola, as I have already discussed, is circular pigmented area of skin surrounding nipple of breast. Here, two important points have been discussed. First is milk production and milk ejection. See, these two processes are stimulated by two different hormones. So just pay attention. Milk production is stimulated by prolactin hormone, whereas milk ejection is stimulated by oxytocin hormone. Okay. Then again, another important term has been mentioned here, that is inhibitory peptide. It is very important for NEET exam. See, if mammary glands are not fully emptied, inhibitory peptide of milk accumulates and they inhibit milk production. Next topic is oogenesis. Now we know that genesis means formation. So oogenesis is the formation of haploid female gamete, also known as ova, from the diploid egg mother cell or oogonia of female ovary. It involves two biological processes and it occurs in ovaries. Now what are those two biological processes? First one is genetic programming and the second one is packaging. Now see, the period of oogenesis is different in case of different animals. Like in human female, there are about 1700 primary germ cells in the undifferentiated female gonad at 1 month of fetal development. These proliferate to form about 6 lakh oogonia at 2 months of gestation period, and by its 5th month, the ovaries contain over 7 million oogonia. However, many of these oogonia undergo atresia. Now, atresia means degeneration of germ cell. At the time of birth, there are 2 million primary follicles, but 50% of these are atretic. Remember, no oogonia are formed after birth. This is a very important concept. No oogonia are formed after birth. And atresia continues, and at the time of puberty, each ovary contains only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicle. Oogenesis is completed only after the onset of puberty, and only 1 out of 500 oogonia is stimulated by FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, to mature. So oogenesis can be described as a discontinuous and wasteful process. This is very important. You need to memorize it. Now let us start with the phases of oogenesis. Oogenesis consists of 3 phases. First one is multiplication phase. This is initiated during embryonic developmental stage. As a result, many oogonia which are diploid are produced in each ovary of the fetus, as I have already discussed. Now this oogonia undergoes mitosis, forming primary oocyte. Since we know that mitosis means equational division, primary oocyte will also be diploid. The next phase is growth phase. Now this growth phase is very long and it may extend over many years. Now the primary oocyte is surrounded by primary follicle. What is that? It is layer of granulosa cells. A large number of follicles degenerate from birth to puberty, leaving 60,000 to 80,000 follicles in each ovary, as I have mentioned. Now primary follicles get surrounded by more layers of granulosa cells and theca, and this is known as secondary follicles. And secondary follicles are again transformed into tertiary follicle, which is a fluid filled cavity called antrum. Now moving on to the third stage, that is maturation phase. What happens in this phase? Each primary oocyte now undergoes meiosis 1. Now meiosis 1 is reductional division, so it will lead to the formation of 2 unequal haploid daughter cells. Now one large cell is known as secondary oocyte, and the one which is very small is known as first polar body. It is also known as polocyte. Now the secondary oocyte again undergoes meiosis 2. We all know that meiosis 2 is equational division. Now again 2 unequal haploid daughter cells will be produced. The large one is known as oocyte, which grows into a functional haploid ovum, and the very small one is the second polar body. This is the diagram where oogenesis process has been shown stepwise. Now remember, first polar body may divide into 2. Polar bodies degenerate after meiosis 2. So in oogenesis, a diploid oogonium forms 1 haploid ovum and 2 or 3 polar bodies, while in spermatogenesis, a diploid spermatogonium forms 4 haploid sperms. Now, what is the function of polar body? It's quite obvious question because I have just mentioned that polar bodies degenerate. The primary function of polar body is not to bring haploidy but to retain the whole of the cytoplasm in one ovum to provide food during the development of zygote to form an embryo. The number of ova is reduced with the ability of female to bear and rear them. The next topic of discussion is ovulation. Here you can see from the diagram the section of an female ovary. Tertiary follicle, as I have discussed in this lecture only, now changes to mature follicle or Graafian follicle. Now see from this diagram, a membrane surrounding the secondary oocyte is called zona pellucida is there. And what is ovulation? It is the process by which Graafian follicle ruptures to release ovum from ovary. So this is known as ovulation. Okay. So moving on to the next topic. Yes, the structure of ovum. Now let me discuss the structure of ovum. See from this diagram it is evident that ovum is surrounded by 3 egg envelopes. One is vitelline membrane, another one is zona pellucida, and the third one is corona radiata. Now vitelline membrane is thinner. It's transparent. It is also the inner layer and it is secreted by ovum itself. The second layer is zona pellucida. It is middle, thick, transparent and non-cellular. It is secreted partly by follicular cells and partly by oocyte. Now zona pellucida carries a chemical named fertilizin that is composed of glycoprotein. Remember, this term is very important for NEET exam. And the outermost layer is corona radiata. It is the thicker coat formed of radially elongated follicular cells. You can find another thing in this diagram, that is perivitelline space. What is that? It is the space, narrow space basically, between the vitelline membrane and zona pellucida. The difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis have been mentioned here. The first point of difference is site of occurrence. Spermatogenesis, you know, occurs inside the seminiferous tubule of testis, whereas oogenesis takes place inside ovaries. The growth phase in case of spermatogenesis is of shorter duration, whereas in case of oogenesis it is of longer duration. Now in case of spermatogenesis, no yolk is synthesized during growth phase, whereas in case of oogenesis, vitellogenesis occurs in growth phase. Number of gametes in case of spermatogenesis: one spermatogonium forms 4 haploid gametes, whereas in case of oogenesis, one oogonium forms only 1 ovum. In case of spermatogenesis, no polar body is formed, but in case of oogenesis, 2 to 3 polar bodies are normally formed. And the site of completion: spermatogenesis starts and completed within testis, whereas oogenesis starts inside ovary and completed outside ovary. See, this is a very important question for those who are going to write their board exam. Okay. Now again some important points for NEET have been discussed. First one is egg tube of Flügger. What is that? Germinal epithelium which later forms rounded mass or egg nest is known as egg tube of Flügger. Now what is egg nest? Egg nest is the thing, rounded mass, that gives rise to Graafian follicle. Secondary sex organs of females, this is very important for NEET exam: oviduct, uterus, vagina, clitoris, accessory genital glands and mammary glands are collectively known as secondary sex organs of females. What is paraurethral gland or Skinner's gland? It surrounds the urethral orifice in case of human females. Now the disorders of female reproductive system. It's very important. First one is cervical cancer. Now the first question of this lecture. Do you know the name of the microorganism? It may be bacteria, it may be virus, that is associated with cervical cancer. and the test that is performed to detect cervical cancer? If you know the answer, write in the comment section below. The second one is breast cancer. Third one is ectopic pregnancy. What is that? It is the implantation of embryo at a place other than uterus. It generally occurs in oviduct, that is in fallopian tube, and it leads to a dangerous condition. The next disorder is endometriosis, that is the growth of endometrial tissue outside the uterus. The fifth one that I have discussed here is oophorocystosis, that is cyst formation inside the ovary. So that is all about this lecture video. Thank you for watching, and if you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe this channel. Thank you.